Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So about a couple years ago, I did a versus between a Goofy movie and an extremely Goofy movie. But the choice I picked that time was not my best choice, honestly. So I'm going to do a round two and see which one is better. Again. So without further ado, here we go. Okay, first off is a Goofy movie. Now, this was released back on April 7, 1995, and it has turned 30 years old, which is why I wanted to redo this, because in honor of its 30-year anniversary, might as well redo this versus. But I'm getting off track. Now, this was distributed by Buena Vista Pictures Distribution, and production companies are Walt Disney Pictures, Walt Disney Television Animation. This Rotten Tomato score is 64. Initially, it was 61 when I first did this. It was actually lower than the second movie, which was weird. But now this is higher, which is great. Obviously, you know the gist of a Goofy movie. It's Max and Goofy. Goofy wants to, care with his son, have fun and all that stuff. Max wants to, spend time, with Roxanne and her friends and all that stuff. So, And Max is a teenager and all that. And, relatable teenagers and all that stuff. Quirks. Basically, Goofy invites Max to be on a road trip, and it has hilarious shenanigans and all that. They start arguing at the beginning and all that, just not bonding along. But eventually, at the end of the movie, they do bond. And actually, at the end of the movie, they go to a Powerline concert for songs like Stand Out and Eye to Eye. And generally, it's a fun concept and all that. I love the cast. I love the designs and all that stuff. Everything in this movie is really, really good. And honestly, it's such a wonderful movie. There's not really a villain in the movie. I guess if you really want to say villains, maybe Pete. But honestly, he's more of a Goofy kind of villain. What do you expect? Instead of, very, very mean. Just more Goofy, one-sided, that kind of stuff. But overall, a Goofy movie is really good. And if you've not seen it, please go watch it. I've summarized a little of it, but please go watch it because it's really, really good. If you haven't, you're missing out. Anyways, now we go to an extremely Goofy movie. This was released on February 29th, 2000 on Disney DVD and video because I'm pretty sure the first movie had mixed reviews and all that and wasn't great in theaters, so that's why this version is probably Disney DVD. Although a Goofy movie would eventually become a cult following. That's all I'm saying. And anyways, distributed by Walt Disney Home Video, production companies, Disney Video Premieres, Walt Disney Television Animation, and percentage on Rotten Tomatoes is 63%. Now, ignore the wins, by the way. There's something going on. But anyways, a Goofy movie is a musical. This is a sports comedy. Sports, you know what I mean. But anyways, sorry for that. Again, another silence. But anyways, this movie is about Max going to college, which is great. And unfortunately, Goofy doesn't still not understand that. He wants Max to be there, and I understand what he's getting at. And eventually, Goofy loses his job and ends up joining college, which Max is very pleased. He is not pleased to see him there. Another storyline is that there's this villain who's gonna, be part of, the X Games, and just so happens that Goofy is part of that team and all that, and Max gets a little frustrated and all that stuff. But don't you worry, Goofy eventually bounces back and all that, and eventually gets his grades up, and actually, he ends up meeting a new person in his life, which is great. I'm glad to hear that Goofy has found someone new. At the X Games, basically, Max's team wins, and the other team loses, although it turns out the other team is cheating, so, Now, this movie is pretty decent and all that stuff. When I first reviewed this, versus this, you know what I mean? This was the movie I picked. Although, going back to it, I do think, even though this movie is very decent and all that, there's no songs, there's none of that. I don't know, the movie's alright as it is, but the Rotten Tomatoes has a 49% for the audience, which is kind of interesting, because if you look for a Goofy movie, that is 71. So that is interesting, not gonna lie. This movie is pretty decent for the most part, but it's not as great as the first one. That's all I'm saying. After going through both, I can safely say that a Goofy movie is the better movie because this is so nostalgic, has a really good plot, has really good characters, really good themes and all that. It's generally a comforting movie for kids, adults, teens, all ages. It's a wonderful experience. Not to say that Extremely Goofy movie is bad or anything, but after double checking from the last time I picked this, a Goofy movie is much better with its songs and all that stuff. An Extremely Goofy movie has no songs, and the movie's just decent. A Goofy movie is actually a really amazing watch, and you have to watch it. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Have a great day, and I hope you enjoyed this round 2. Goodbye. Also, happy 30 years, A Goofy Movie.